What's happening today? A couple things anybody needs to understand, and they're simple and they're crystal clear. There's a lot of things that aren't crystal clear. I am not a currency expert. I'm not a political expert. That to me is difficult stuff. Demographics is really simple and really powerful. Age 46 is the important number in demographics. Anybody know what age 46 means? It is the peak spending of the average household, Homer Simpson, in this country and most developed countries around the world. We know from cradle to grave when people are going to spend money, earn money, all types of things. If you don't understand demographics, you don't understand why the world all of a sudden slowed in the 1970s, in the 1930s, and now. This happens every 39 to 40 years, and people are totally caught by surprise. Debt. I don't have to talk much about debt at this conference. You're the most debt-savvy audience probably in the world right now. But what we do focus on a bit different. We look at the private debt. I got a message for you. The Federal Reserve doesn't create money. They created QE1 and QE2 in emergency, and they create currency. They make it easy or hard for financial institutions to make money. Most countries around the world, including the US, there's 3 to 4 times as much private debt as there is public debt. Our 2008 crisis was not a sovereign debt crisis in the US. They're having that in Europe for different reasons. It was a private debt crisis, melting down at the speed of light. And the government stopped it. And deflation, the D word. I'm going to show a lot of reasons that the end game is deflation, even though we do have inflation now. Think of it this way. The government is doing what? They're inflating, right? They're inflating. They're creating debt. They're creating money. What's the private sector doing? Deflating. Anybody know which one's bigger? How much of our GDP is private sector? 80% to 20. How much private debt do we have at the top of the bubble? 42 trillion versus 14 trillion with all government, state and local included. Which one's bigger? So in the end, the private sector deleveraging, which happened in the 1930s, happened in the 1870s and 80s, happened after every major debt bubble in history, ends up winning. Now, I will also admit, this is an unprecedented time. We have never seen governments have both the tools and the determination to absolutely just fight deflation. Because Ben Bernanke's, like most economists, never had a real job. He studied the Great Depression. He studied it. Oh, good, Ben. He knows deflation is nasty. Closest way to explain deflation, what does your body do? Let's say you went to the sushi place last night and you had some really bad sushi. What would your body do with that bad sushi? Flush it out as fast as possible. Does it want to hold on to it? That's what our system was trying to do. That's what our system did in the 1930s. We went from almost 200% debt to GDP ratios in total to 50% in 3 years. Do you guys want to keep $42 trillion in bullshit debt? Anybody for that? That's what the government's recommending. They don't want this debt to deleverage. Japan didn't want it to deleverage. How's Japan doing 20 years after their crash? Anybody know? Oh, the stock market's still down 75%, 80% just a year ago. I was told for decades, real estate can't go down. I was told that in California where I lived. I was told that in Miami. I just told this in Sydney, Australia, and in Vancouver, British Columbia. Real estate can't go down here because we're so special. And they've gone down everywhere. Japan has gone through everything we're going to go through ahead of us. Does Japan have inflation problem? Have they been stimulating quantitative easing after quantitative easing after quantitative easing? No, they don't. What's the biggest single cost of living? Is it gold? Oil? Food in the United States? What is it? Housing. What's housing doing? Dropping like a rock. Cannot bounce despite the lowest mortgage rates in history and the strongest stimulus programs around the world in all of history. The Fed is fighting deflation purposely. That is the trend. Governments can react. Governments can go against. What I look at is the fundamentals, what should be happening, what governments are doing to decide whether they're going to fail or not. We've been saying these stimulus plans will fail. 92 million baby boomers want to save, not spend. Old people don't buy houses, do they? Here's the future of demographics of real estate. Top of the boom here in recent years, typical upper middle class family sitting in a 4,000 square foot McMansion. About 10 years from now, what do? Downsize in a 2,000 square foot townhouse. What do they need all those bedrooms for? Their kids are gone. They don't visit anymore. They never liked you that much, okay? Just get over it. 10 years after that, where are they? 200 square foot nursing home. 10 years after that, where are they? I don't have to say this one, 20 square foot grave plot. That's the future of real estate. That's why real estate has not bounced in Japan after 21 years. Every young couple wants to get married, have babies, buy a house. There's an older couple moving into a nursing home or dying. Oh, and by the way, it's not enough that Japan hasn't had babies for decades. Not enough that they don't like immigration. They just totally commit kamikaze demographic suicide. Now young people, I literally read this 2 days ago, 35 to 40% of young people in Japan, male and female, are not interested in sex. They've just given up. The economy's too hard. They don't have time for sex or marriage. So anybody think Japan's going to turn around? Demographics is destiny.